simple math tells you, okay, 6 months is not gonna be 49,000.
Not
Well,
when you're paying
it's not-
seven.
Eventually, it's over 100, isn't it?
6 months of his salary wasn't 33,923 that was in the agreement, and I don't know where EDC got that number, we can put that number in there. But the 33,923.04 was not a number that the city gave, it's a number that they put into the account, that they put into the agreement.
Okay.
So Mr. Baker was saying there's two things that when we issued the check one was, one, it wasn't the right lump sum of 36 of the, what it should have been 6 months of his salary, and two, he was expecting a check without taking out.
So now we have that done.
I understand that.
So we have it to the IRS. So what's the next step with the
You've
IRS?
amended his
You amended the
W-2.
W-2.
I would request the refund on the W-2 with the IRS.
So the IRS will request the money from Tommy, and
We
then they'll,
issue a
how's that work?
corrected, we issue a corrected 941,
okay,
where it shows that they owe us, and they owe us $10,000, because the difference in between the 13 and the
Okay.
10,000 is the taxes that Mr. Baker should have paid, and we cannot take off, that's
Mhm.
Medicare and Medicaid. You can zero out the FIC or the IRS taxes, but not the Medicare and Medicaid, you have to pay those. So, I mean, we did what we had to do, and it was properly done. The only problem is that he came and he complained, he wanted a full lump sum.
Connie, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. It was not properly done because just those two numbers alone add up more than six months.
If you're adding from 33 to the 16, yes.
Yes.
But it's a 22, he only got 22,000. That was the net of the first payroll check.
The
His
net.
first payroll check was
because
the
they
net.
took out the money and they kept
Was
that.
22,192, and plus the 16,000 that we gave him, that doesn't total to 49.
So you wrote them a check of 33,923 minus the taxes for 22.
Correct.
So you were going off to
Be-
22 plus 16 was like 38.
Because they, see,
They
the payroll clerk got the 33,923 that was on the agreement, plus 44 hours vacation that was paid to him, that was a total of 1,554. So that was the total that was supposed to be paid to him. And then they took out, the system does it automatically. We cannot go and override the system. And he calculated the taxes, so his net pay was 22,192.
Okay.
I just think
And
that-
then and then they come and they tell us that we need to refund him the taxes. So I took the $13,000 that is what we deducted of taxes in the payroll check, plus the difference of the 2,000 and some to make it to 36,000, and that's what he got, the 16,005 something.
So what happened here on this system, automatically overnight, you swipe the
It
money
is-
out of the bank to the IRS?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do understand that when you're running payroll, if you don't withdraw or take the taxes correctly and report them to the IRS, that's a federal offense, correct? We need to run these payroll checks. That's the reason why there's a payroll system.
Yeah.
Now, if he's contract services and they were not obligated to take any taxes out, they pay their own taxes.
So right now we're waiting to see what the IRS says.
Yes,
Okay.
and they will
Well,
refund
I think at
the
the
money.
recommendation of the board, maybe moving forward, for this position, regardless of who sits in it, we do need to make sure we have in place some written procedures on future violence of these types of situations, regardless.
I would recommend that in the future that we don't have any gross pay type
Yeah.
situations.
We were doing that one,
Yeah.
6-month severance package.
Yeah.
It's something when somebody sees that, and that's a lot of money all at once,
Yeah.
but 6 months. And so, because of the issue with Mr. Baker and the overpayment, that we ran it and didn't put it through the payroll when we actually made the things for Johnny. And so we've since then had to make sure that it's showing in the computer right, so that we can make sure that we can do that.
So we made the corrections within there.
Well, on the next one,
Mhm.
gross payment, what we did was, he estimated the 7.25
Yeah.
or whatever that number was. That's what we sent to say, that's what we do it.
Yes.
And it's on him if it's not the right amount or no.
Okay.
And he got to
Well,
come
what
back
you
to that.
paid is just Medicare and Medicaid, which is the 7%.
And then he'll have to, but we.
He'll take care of the IRS once he gets
Yeah.
a 1099.
So what communication have you had with the IRS?
We are submitting a 941 form, corrected.
Let's be clear here, we have not had direct contact with IRS.
No, we haven't.
I just want to
but
make sure
we-
that point is.
Okay, not the.
There's not been a communication. This is the plan,
Oh, the plan.
Yes.
the plan to go
Okay.
and.
Because we had to get a letter from the attorney explaining the IRS what happened, and I'm sending the 941 corrected with that letter to the IRS.
And an amended W-2 has been submitted
Submitted.
to Mr. Baker.
Do we know when those letters will round
Well,
about?
the one, we just sent it out last
Okay.
week with the one to Mr. Baker, and Sylvia's sending out the other one,
Okay.
because it's coming from her office on her
Okay.
end.
So ultimately, we may not get our money back from Mr. Baker.
It would be IRS would get our money back from,
IRS.
We get back from the IRS.
we should get it back from the IRS, and then they'll go after Mr. Baker.
To pay the,
Then
How long will it take? Do we
for
know?
us, what they say, anywhere between 60 to 90 days, but we hear back.
So if we get the money back from the IRS, and the IRS goes after Mr. Baker, is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes,
How feasible is that? How, we don't have any history of that kind of thing, do we?
I do not have any
You
history that, I will say this, if you get the 13,280, we want our 25% cut because we were the ones that found it.
Find us, Steve, so.
Is the camera on?
Find us.
I would say 50%.
I'm licensed by the state, I can't use, I can't initiate usury laws there. So, anyway, okay, last
Okay.
comment here.
Last comment.
okay.
So during our audit, we look at expenditures, we test expenditures to see where they're coded. We had about $38,000 in expenditures that were coded to the wrong expense line items. It was clear, it was obvious they didn't belong there. Case in point, an example would be, this may not be an exact example, but an example to give you is if it's for fuel or something like that, it was coded to supplies or something like that. So why did that happen? Well, Mr. Baker was coding these things to the wrong expense items. I don't know why he was coding them to the wrong expense items. That might explain why he's not around anymore. I don't know. But they were coded to the wrong expense line items by the director. But then it goes to finance, right? And finance has to code it into the system. There should be a review in the finance department that the expenses are properly coded into the right GL line items. That was not happening. We were just turnkeying what the director was giving us and putting them in, obviously, into wrong areas. And so we got a recommendation that there be some review process that's done at the finance level to make sure that they're in the right areas. Sometimes your director, sometimes your department don't know where things go, so they just throw numbers down. But it's up to the finance, it's their job to make sure we get those in the right areas. So that's our recommendation there. With that, I will, well, actually, one last thing on the other letter that we have here. These are required communications between us, the independent auditor, and you, the board. They're templated things, just basically saying what our responsibilities were in conducting the audit, what our responsibilities are in identifying any changes in accounting policies, and what estimates go into the financial statements. That's all on page 1. The more important thing here is on page 2 at the very top. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We had a number of misstatements. Obviously, we talked about these expenses that were miscoded, and we had to do journal entries. There were also some payroll expenses that were miscoded that we had to correct. Again, we corrected these things. Obviously, your independent auditors should not be correcting your financial statements. That is your responsibility. Your management's responsibility, the finance department's responsibility to get things right. Whenever we're having to correct them, that means we don't have the right processes in place. We did adjust your expenses by $38,000. We did adjust payroll expenses by $54,000. The important thing to note, though, is in the financial statements, in the final numbers that you have there, those transactions have been properly recorded. We did post journal entries and get the numbers right for your presentation. So, with that, I will conclude and take any further questions you have on the audit process or on any of the reports that we are issuing.
Any questions or comments?
There's a pause for a minute. I'm just kidding.
So for now, the only thing we're changing is setting up an account, a separate account for the pool cash.
Yes.
Is that correct?
We're gonna eliminate that, correct? Your recommendation to eliminate the full cash.
That is my recommendation for the city. Obviously, you're kind of tagging along with that process, but to the city, if you could pull out of that, I would pull out of it.
Instead of a different account, under the FEDC.
You already
I
have
just
two
need to watch the
accounts.
big.
So Connie,
Cash.
in that case, how do we use invoices for payroll? And it just doesn't matter, what would be the mechanics behind that?
Yeah, your process will be different because we're gonna have a fund, if this is approved by the city, we were gonna have a fund for payroll. And then when the payroll comes in and Christina has to run it, and then I need to go to Charlotte and tell her this is the payroll for today. So they have to approve it, Christina has to run a check, AP check, to the city. We have to deposit it into the payroll fund, and then we can issue the checks and release them to the employee. So the process is gonna be longer.
So that we're all on the same page, can that be put in writing?
So we set up a process.
Yeah, but it wasn't until last night in this room that he made a recommendation to separate. And so I got an email today asking for the proper procedure, and I haven't had time to pin it yet, because it was just last night that they made this suggestion. Right?
It was kind of a last minute,
Yeah, so I don't have any procedures because I just received that information last night.
That's when they made the recommendation to separate.
The bank account.
The city's bank account.
So we just have our own, right now, they,
Okay, but who takes
You
care
guys
of
don't-
making it happen?
I
There's a recommendation, but who's gonna do it?
I guess they have to initiate their recommendation to us,
I'm gonna
I
have
would
to,
assume.
I'm gonna have to write what the auditors requesting, for me to write a policy and procedure on how we're gonna do that.
Mhm.
But like I said, I just got it last night in this room and left at 9:30.
Let their finances.
So we need to,
They're part of
I need to
this.
make a recommendation to them, they say, yes, that's the right way to go, and then they can go to the council.
It needs to be presented to the board.
But in the meantime,
To the council.
or in the meantime, we're never gonna keep anything more than payroll in that pooled account. If it goes, we're gonna come to a set number, if it goes, we're gonna make sure every month that gets paid. So we don't run into that account, that accounting or that number issue again.
Does the board have to take any action for that to happen?
So we wanna put it on the 8th to just make sure we do an action item with the most current number, because the number that we did last time was the 295. So since it's come up maybe three and a half.
And then whatever we need to do to make sure this doesn't happen.
Yes, sir.
So actual physical check, it can't be a transfer?
It can be a transfer.
It could be a transfer, we just have to, once we make that, we have to go and.
Go to the bank and make the transfer from the money market into full cash.
Could we add Charlotte to that count or not?
Well, what do we have now?
We have
That
to
was
put it
my
on the
suggestion,
agenda.
but she has to sign. She has to be a signer of the checks to be able to go into the bank and do that kind of transaction.
Right now, there's 3 signers, it's the ED, the treasurer, and the president. So we can go to the bank and ask how many signers we can have. And with their,
You could add Charlotte, I don't think they care how many signers we.
yeah.
You
Oh,
can
no,
add,
you
but
have to do at least have
You just wanna-
So that way you have an
Control
extra.
risks.
Yeah, 'cause you
that
have
are
two people in
involved
office.
place. So, you
If you have 2
know,
people in office that can do it without the board, you always wanna have the
it
board.
depends
member.
on what Charlotte's other functions are as far as invoicing and things like that, or receiving invoices, so.
So typically, it's been your treasurer, your director, and your chairman. Those have been the signers.
Okay. All right. Any questions for our accountant?
Any last minute recommendations?
No, I think I'm all right, I think I've dropped enough shoes here.
He's gonna give us a big discount.
Yeah. Thank you for finding those.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me here.
Sorry it wasn't that long of a meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's go on to item 2C. Texas Film Friendly. So, Mr. Edruck, you attended this conference with, you attended this conference?
Yeah.
With Johnny. He forgot the name.
So they,
You're up.
You're up.
You're on.
yeah, last time I requested that, we were gonna go for this because the Chamber of Commerce at one time was thinking that maybe what the outcome would be. They said, well, I have to go and see what they done. So I brought some documents that I have at home to Charlotte and look at it and give it to the president, see what he thought of it, and explain the amount of money that is expended on the film business in Texas, you know. And what really happened is that they filming in San Antonio, they filming in Pleasanton, and we are not in the picture to get some of the money. So there's a requirement for that, and they had to, the attorney more likely had to draw, they have some example of what form had to be filled. Then that be the second step after the attendance, which should be to prepare the administration and enforceable guidelines into the filming business. And that means they include the producers, what they can do, what they cannot do, and the city to close the streets is necessary to enforce all the guidelines. If for any reason they want to rent a home for one of their members or actors, that's a contract between the owner of the home and the filming agency. We just provide the access to it, and whatever they decide, fine, but there's a guideline on how much they can charge for the home. So don't go with the thing that, oh, because the filmmakers got money, we're gonna go ahead and give them, you know, we want $4,000 a day for the house. Because they also have a budget, and they also have on that budget how much they're gonna film, how much it's gonna cost for housing these people, and restaurants and food and catering and so on. So everybody's on a budget. So whoever we take pictures of home and stuff like that, they want to submit part of it. Before we all that, all the guidelines had to be in place, and then the city council had to approve it. Once the approval is taking place, then we can start taking pictures, send it to them with a whole package, and they will be certified that they can put us on the database. And when they might film in a short deal or a wedding, and maybe they like First Baptist Church for the picture that they saw and so on, they made the agreement with the church for that, but we get the revenue for whatever it takes.
For the visitors
and
and the setup and hotels.
For visitor, hotel, and the money that we spend. So it's more than the hotel tax on it, because when they were filming over in, what that base that is up going north, Killeen, Texas, they filmed a movie that is supposed to be in Iraq, but it's filmed right in a ranch in there. And what they did, they went and bought from Home Depot 9,000 pieces of 1-inch plywood to lay that on the ranch ground, and they got a truckload of sand, and they did a job that it looked like you are filming in a desert, when it's actually piles and piles of sand and stuff like that. And then Fort Hood provided the tanks and the artillery for the whole thing. So they were there about 6 months, and they spent a whole bunch of money for all that time. Some of them are closer. It might be a week for the advertisement and stuff like that, that they come in and do some kind of advertisement deal and they film it. So right now, The Walking Dead is being filmed in Pleasanton, in a ranch. A lot of people don't know that because they don't want no publicity, for the simple reason that then everybody show up at the ranch to see
What's being filmed,
what is being filmed.
Excuse me.
what movie star there
What
is.
movie star there? So we missing that money being spent in Pleasanton, and we missing because we're not in the register to come and film. And until then, the state commission will not put us on the list until we get these guidelines in order. And then it'd be a matter of taking pictures and so on and submit it so that we can upload it to the site. And then it goes nationwide. The guy look at it, hey, we love this place, where is it? Oh, well, that's in Texas. Well, guess what, it's Floresville. But if we're not in the database, they're bypassing us. They were filming on Eagle Creek 2 weeks ago. They asked me, oh, that's you? They said, that day you were gonna do it. It was San Antonio. They're coming into Wilson County. take pictures and they get the money and we just don't get anything out of it.
Well,
So how long does it take to get registered?
Well, we need to, the procedures, they got the samples on it that she can give it to the attorney, so how this thing fit, what the guidelines to follow. One, the attorneys get them all signed up and say, this is good, it's valid for our situation here. Then we go to the council and the council vote yes then. Once they vote yes, that's it. Step 3 is to submit the picture, and it's over and done, which should be right here. The 2 guideline, and the third one is to submit the photographs, state location, inclusion, and so on to the commission.
So who
location.
decides on what to send in?
Huh?
Who makes a decision on what photographs to send in?
Well, the decision being that citizens will know about it, or we can go and take the pictures, or the city can submit like City Hall and stuff like that, and we have the pictures.
So when you say
I can-
we, is there a committee that we form to do that, or
No,
just a head?
I can go and
a
take the
couple of-
pictures and so on, whatever is public property.
do we get to pick what movies, I mean, do we get to have a say yay or nay on the type of movies?
Well, when they come in, yes, they're gonna come in and say, this is what we're gonna film, and then.
So they come to
Because the
us
city has
first?
to give,
the
the
city?
city gotta give a permit to film. This is inside the city.
Okay. Does the city get any permit fees out of that, or?
There could be some permit fees.
They gotta create it.
Uses of the street and so on, so well, this is how much it's gonna cost you to do and so on. And they, to execute the cost of closing the street and so on, and letting the business owners, if they're gonna film in a restaurant, or this is gonna happen this day ahead of time, and so they can be ready for it.
I'm of the opinion, if we could bring more attention to our town.
Yeah. It's just the deal that until we get this done, this part here, and then the city vote on it, and yes, they're gonna take the pictures of the location, so we get bypassed.
So it's a city project?
Did we have that Sugarland Express a few years back here?
Yeah,
Remember?
that was-
Yeah, that's what I said, I was thinking that you can get a list, there was multiple,
Yeah,
Yeah.
multiple.
We've had several.
I remember that,
there was like in the 80s.
So,
1972, 73, I think it was.
so I'm thinking we need to get back on the group, because now they're spending more money.
Jackie Chan.
And then
So that'd be something we can put on our workshop as we move forward and put on our list to do.
Johnny Cash filmed the movie here.
Yeah,
I remember from here, they went to Post to that restaurant that was right there at the intersection by the light. And,
Wasn't there one done with Sandra Bullock also here? I think so.
Susan Sarandon, I think.
I don't remember, but I,
Well, anyway, this is not an action item, so do we
Yeah.
need to
No.
put it on the next agenda?
yeah.
Yes, please.
To form a committee.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this?
Thank you.
Fred?
No, I don't have anything. I would like a break before we go to the next
Me too.
item.
There's not an action item for a break.
Well, that's too bad.
because when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Let's you and I break the quorum.
We'll break it up.
Let's go, let's take a 5-minute break.
Let's break the quorum and then what happens?
We're tough here, Sean.